In today's lesson, we will be solving story problems involving subtraction of multi-digit numbers with regrouping.
Hey everybody, guess what month it is?
November!
This past weekend was Halloween. And you know what's better than Halloween itself?
Going to Kroger and getting all the candy that's now 75% off.
Happy day after Halloween to me. But something else about November is this is finally the month where all the leaves start really falling on the ground. Leaves, 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 leaves. And when all the leaves start falling on the ground, it's time to start raking them. But the good part about raking leaves is that you'll get to jump in them. Of course, some trees make more leaves than others. I call this tree the Big Memphis. Big Memphis shedded about 428,367 leaves this year. But I also own a little bit of a smaller tree. Miss Little Bitty, as I like to call her, is still shedding all her leaves. She only shedded about 144,500 leaves this year.
And Axel sure does love playing in those leaves too. He loves to try to catch them in his mouth.
So if Big Memphis shed 428,367 leaves, and Miss Little Bitty shed only 144,500 leaves, how many more leaves did Big Memphis shed than Miss Little Bitty? When I hear those words, how many more, I know that I'm gonna be looking for a difference, and difference is subtraction. To solve this, I'm gonna be using the standard algorithm to find the difference. To begin, I'm gonna take the amount of leaves that Big Memphis shed and stack it vertically on top of what Miss Little Bitty shed. This is because I know that I'm finding a difference between the two numbers. And in order to find the difference, I need to just subtract my largest of my amounts by my smallest of my amounts. Take a second and look at how evenly we've stacked our numbers on top of one another. I should be able to cleanly draw a line in between each of the set of digits. When I see that, it's a lot easier for me to do my subtraction than when I do something like this. When I make my numbers this close together and this small, and I don't evenly stack them, I'm not able to account for the fact that the 7's in the 1's place and also the 0 as clearly. It's hard to draw lines, it's hard to subtract, and it's just as messy to read. So we want to make sure that we use good spacing to vertically align each of our numbers so that when we solve our math, all we have to do is look at one column at a time. Always begin with my ones column. 7 minus 0 is 7. 6 minus 0 is 6. But then I notice something. I can't subtract 3 minus 5. Why is that? I noticed that 3 is on top of 5 and 3 is smaller than 5. So what am I going to do? Just like adding, I'm going to do something called regrouping. But in subtraction, regrouping looks a little bit different. We use another term interchangeably called borrowing. Hey Axel, can I borrow your dog toy?
No.
Hey Axel, can I borrow your food?
Don't even think about it.
Not exactly like that. Oftentimes you hear in math the phrase borrowing from next door. Because when we borrow, we are rearranging groups in place value to carry out our operation. In this case, it's subtraction. And usually we borrow in groups of 10. We borrow 10 every time because of the rule we learned in our last unit. If it's to the left one place value, it's 10 times bigger. So the place value of this 8 is 10 times larger than the place value of the 3 in the hundreds place, meaning I can take away 10 from this number and borrow it over the top of my 3. I could even look at it as saying 70 plus 10, take away this 10 and bring it on over to the other side. I then no longer have this 10 to use in the thousands place, so I take away a whole group of 10 from our number. It is no longer 8, but 7. But we did regroup and add that 10 in our hundreds place to that 3. 10 plus 3 is 13. Now I can subtract 13 minus 5. 13 minus 5, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. And I can still subtract 4 from now 7. 7 minus 4 is 3. So when I regrouped and borrowed that 10, I didn't erase any of my numbers and leave them out as if they weren't there. I just simply rearranged them in order to better carry out my operation. Continuing on, I notice I can't subtract 2 minus 4 because the 2 is larger than the 4. So again, I'll borrow from next door. I will take away 10 from that 4. That 4 will now become a 3, and I'm borrowing 10 to add to my number. 10 plus 2 is 12. Sometimes what we can do is we can just get to our mental math spot and draw a 1 right next to the value and know that that's now 12. 10 plus 2 is 12.
Then I can subtract 12 minus 4 is 8 and 3 minus 1 is 2, giving me a total answer of 283,867.
That's right, so the Big Memphis shed 283,867 more leaves than Miss Little Bitty. Regardless of how many leaves they shed, it's plenty enough to play in. And that's all for Math with Miss Jewell today. Catch you next time.